Well, hello. Welcome to Battling Zoom, where the narrative matters. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to start saying that. So, fun week for me. This is kind of like this fun ending to a great series of things that happen. So, um, while ago, I'd say about a month or so ago, um, I stumbled on this YouTuber, Mini Minuteman, where he ended up reading an old, he says history textbook until I found out later. But it's basically um, an old book from, as it says, 1855, uh, where he kind of goes into this whole thing about it's kind of the geography, history, and the ancient ways of all the world, not just America, but everywhere around the world, which was fascinating. I ended up watching this whole thing, and one of the fun things I found out about it is this little bit when he starts talking about Virginia. Now, when it comes to it, it's talking about everything, and it's from this specific type of way of thinking where they're using the Bible as the beginning of the earth instead of what science is now deemed longer. Uh, so we're still using the concept of God creating the earth as opposed to the Big Bang theory. But we get to Virginia. I'm going to play a bit of this.
Oh, okay. State of Virginia goes through every single county and their white population, free colored population, and slave population. And when all of it is tallied up, the total white population is 894,000 people. The total free colored population is 54,000 people, and the total slave population is 472,000 people. Sorry, enslaved population. That's just, it's really horrifying looking at this shit put into numbers. I'm
So here's what I love about this. I'm sitting here watching this video and I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. Are you saying that there is a historical textbook from 1950s, from 1850s? I'm going to keep saying messing up. Uh, that does a count, like a census of whites, freed people, and slaves? Fascinating. This is amazing. So, of course, I had to pick this book up. I'm going to get out of this screen share real quick. And I don't know why my phone is just taking up everything nowadays. My phone feels like taking up everything right now. I do not know why. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on with my phone. So, that said, let me just switch my phone. Uh, yes. Okay, now I can share. All right, here's my camera. Wobbly as a baby. Sorry if it's wobbly. Wow, it's wobbly. All right. So this, try to be really slow about it because it's all wobbly. This is a copy of, this is a reprint, I should say, of that textbook that he was reading. All right. The original version of this book is so expensive and so old that I was like, I am not going to spend that much money for it. Um, so I found out that there are reprints to preserve the book itself. So I ended up finding this on Amazon for about 20 bucks. And I thought, awesome, this is cool. I get to see this book in person, and this is great. So I'm going to be slow about this because my camera's just being weird. The problem is that when they copied it, they didn't adjust the levels. They didn't get rid of the grays. So the contrast is off. And to be honest, this looks really great for you because it's zoomed in. This is really tiny for me, right? There are other parts of this book where trying to get to this one part. I know there's like one little thing here where it's totally off. There we go. Perfect example. So where you can see there's multiple scans. I believe this is the original scan, and then this must have been damaged, so they rescanned it, right? So fine. I figured, okay, this is a copy. We'll see what's going on. And I was like, well, it's authenticated because at the very end of the book, the coolest thing they have is this is a print from the Library of Congress. It's hard to see again because they didn't scan it right. So I thought, okay, cool. Library of Congress did this. Perfect. So in my haste in my giddy, I said, okay, let me go find that thing that he found on um, Virginia. So in the video, you saw him talk about the slave population and so forth. And when I picked up this book, I thought where's this part of the slave population? So here's this page that he read. And there's there is the census. And I was like, oh, it's just here's the population of each area, you know? And yes, this is so much cooler to read this on this big screen because this print is so small. But as you can see, it's hard to read this print. I don't know what the Library of Congress was doing. This is probably like older prints. So I thought, okay, well, I bought this. This was 20 bucks. Okay, moving on. Fine. So let me put a pin in this one. Okay. So I talked about this. I made jokes about it. I thought this was cool. It wasn't what I wanted, but at least, even if I didn't get anything about slavery, there are some parts of this where they still acknowledge in each state the Native Americans, the tribes that were there before they got kicked out and removed. So at least I would know the tribes of each state. So it was kind of it was a subtle win. I thought that was cool. So my birthday comes around and my sister does the greatest thing ever for me. She did not expect this. Ends up getting, I got to stand up for this one, the actual book. Now, in the video, he's talking about he has the 1855 copy. This is the 1856 copy, but same page, same book, same everything, but with one noticeable difference. We have the slaves. We have the population broken down by whites, free colored, and slaves. So what is the difference between this copy of the book? If I could get that page down. There we go. What is the difference between this copy of the book, which is very breaking apart, by the way, and this copy of the book, where it removes all mention of slaves at all? It took me a while. It took me and my wife a while to figure this one out, because I thought maybe the Library of Congress said, hey, let's just omit this moment in history. And I thought, that's censorship. That's ridiculous. But it wasn't until later that we actually paid attention to the first few pages. So let me try and get this set up. Gonna put this there. And then I'm gonna go back to this page. Again, this book is slowly falling apart. So I'm gonna try and keep as safe as possible. Let's get to that one page that we need to look at. Okay. This is clue number one. It was published in New York, 1856. Right? The Library of Congress, what they have, try to get as close as possible. It's hard to read, but this is 1953 version of the book. Right? Ends up being a different publisher. But the one thing you can't really see really well that my wife really picked up on, I don't know if you can see it, is that hard to read line right there. Ooh, there we go. Perfect. It's a revised print. It's the revised edition. All right. That's the subtle difference. Something was altered in this book. Obviously, we know what the alterations were. So, question is, why was it altered? To find that out, we flip over to publisher's note. I'm going to put this here. And it's actually within the first few pages of this text. All right, so the object of this work was suited to the more advanced class of pupils in high school, academics, private schools, and also a reading book for families, as well as the book of reference for merchants, travelers, and the great mass of general readers. Got that? This was the revised version. Key phrases here: high schools, academics, and private schools. If we go to that same page, oh, forgot that one thing. We also look at the bottom of that. There was a suggestion for teachers. Let me put my finger there. So zoom in. There we go. There is a suggestion for teachers. This whole section right here. Right. This is the revised version. If we go to that same publisher's note, oh, on the main copy, we noticed this was suited as a book reference to the use of families, merchants, editors, travelers, and the great mass of general readers. No mention of school, academics, or private schools. That is a difference. That is a greater difference between this book and the other book, the revised version. No, there's nothing here for teachers. And most of the stuff that's in that teacher's note is mostly in this section right here. Just how it's about showing kind of a domino effect of how history really works and the interest of studying more about it. So what does that say? We are living in an age now where people are trying to erase parts of history. I'm not going to say which side because, to be honest, it's both sides. Right? We have things that were published of its time. Some of it may be offensive, some of it might be eye-opening. But we are living at a time where people want to omit specific things. One side wants to omit the concept of a country that was born off of slavery. So to do this, so they will erase the slavery. Right? They'll erase these aspects of it. The other side wants to omit offensive language of a specific time. And in doing so, you're sadly erasing the problems of that time. You're also censoring history. It is important to see the history of different minorities in a country. It is also important to see how, at the time, these writers and people saw this history, how saw these people in this history, right? So, why did I make this video? Why my feet are showing? Sorry, my feet are showing. What matters to me is that we preserve the history. But this is another example of how, as much as we wanted to show the world as it is, with free people, with freed colored people, with slaves, with everything, we are still censoring the children from the truth. And they don't want that. I'm also making this video because I'm probably going to send a letter to the Library of Congress so they recognize that the copy they have is not the true copy. It is censored. And it's up to them if they want to continue producing, to want to continue handing out the censored version of history as opposed to the real version. So we'll see what they do. That said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm bouncing around my stuff. I'd say for those who want to, let me stop the screen. There. For those who want to know more about this, I'd say definitely check out this YouTuber. Um, it's a fun little taste of what the book is. Um, there you go. Sorry, doing something. It's a fun little taste of what the book is. If you are interested in this book, I'd warn you not to get it. Or at least get it knowing that it's slightly altered, knowing that the quality of the prints are really bad. So you'll be squinting a lot. Um, if the press company Laguerre Street Press, let's see if I can get really close to that. If they ever get wind of this, please reprint this. It's good to have a preserved version of the book. It's great to have a preserved version of this book. I get it. You're doing black and white. It's cheap. It's probably black and white because you got it from the Library of Congress, who just copied it in a black and white. But I'd say please reach out if you see this video, reach out to the Library of Congress and have them print the right book, copy the right book. It's supposed to be a revised version, but that's what. So in the end, I mean, this is a great example of how even back then we tried to hide the truth from children. We tried to censor history from children. And to be honest, we need to stop it, right? We need to stop censoring history. We need to stop censoring these books. I'm on both. I'm in the middle when it comes to this stuff. You can show them a horrible past. You can show them horrible language, horrible depictions, as long as you give them the context to understand and form their own opinion. And that's what the teachers are for, to help. Let them do their job. All right. And let us read the books we want. So, thanks. See you.